Retained Insight, and we have Vikra here today. And most of you might know him from his newsletter, right? Why newsletter I'm mentioning because like he's someone I really admire in terms of how he writes, right? It's like when you read his whole newsletter, you get to understand how depth that is, right? It has full of insight. It is full of resources, and at time it also has movie recommendations, right? Music recommendation. I saw that one, that there is this song, right? अरे यार अभी याद भी नहीं आ रहा है बताओ. It was same song. I was just also listening on repeat, okay, and I saw it there. I was like, "Arey bhai, like I'm not the only victim." Okay, I was literally saying that thing. Okay, I'll tell you. Let me remember. बीच में I'll tell you कि कौन सा गाना था. ठीक है?
Done.
Okay. So yeah, this session is going to be hosting by, Prantik is going to be moderating. Okay, Prantik and Pranav. So guys, over to you. I'm just a spectator here. Okay, chalo.
Great, great.
Okay, just give me a second. Cool. So I have my notes ready, and thank you, Ritin. I just strike that my introduction part here, so I don't need to introduce myself now. So it's kind of easier for me now. So just a few things. What do I have on my mind?
You can give a small intro about yourself, like what do you do, what do you like. Okay, so that will really help. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Anyway, that music was Rose Rose.
Sorry.
That song was Rose Rose.
Oh, you like that or you don't like that?
अरे I like it. I mean like so I heard it before, ठीक है, but उसका फिर से जब I heard it, I was like कि क्या मस्त है यार, फिर से सुनते हैं. It's like it
Yeah.
went on loop. So yeah, that is what I was trying to tell. ठीक है.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, back to the session. चलो.
Yep. So, hello, I'm Vikra and I work as a freelancer. I do content and copywriting, and in the last 6 months, I have niched down to newsletters. And I've been doing newsletters for a fair bit of time now. I've been doing my newsletter for almost 1.5 year. And what else do? I do this basically content writing, I do newsletter writing, and that's what I've been doing in this past 6 months. I do content creation on social media, mainly my newsletters, and I also teach uh, some basic writing with uh, an edtech platform. I've partnered with an edtech platform, so I take one batch a month or something like that. So yeah, that's what I do briefly. And today I'm going to talk about newsletters, something that I always loved, something that I'm crazily passionate about, and something I can keep writing at least for the next year. I can say that I can keep writing and I can keep enjoying, like, if forever sounds too dramatic. So I have my notes here. I have good enough points. We're going to cover a lot of things. I'll give you an overview about what we are going to cover. uh, but before that, just a few points. There have been a lot of power cuts lately, so I have my hotspot, everything back up ready. So just in case if I get disconnected, I'll be back within a couple of minutes. I have my phone ready. I have my mom's phone with me. She's cursing me right now because I'm not allowing her to, YouTube and watch serial analysis and all those things. So yeah, I have my backups ready. So just in case if I get disconnected, don't worry, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. So what else do I have? Also, I'm not a very PPT kind of person. I never believed in PPTs. So as you can expect, there are no PPTs for this session also. But be assured that the session is going to be engaging. Be assured that it's going to be fun. Only one thing I would recommend is have a pen and paper with you, have some notes with you, so that because I'm not presenting any PPT or something, it would be easier for you to just note down things. And of course, while I'm telling, if you have any questions, we'll do our Q&A session at the end. So anything you have, I'd love to stay as long as you want me to and answer everything. Yep. So with that being said, let me give you a little overview of what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to start with as basic as what a newsletter is. And I'm going to go into different things like why should you write a newsletter, where should you write a newsletter, what you should write in a newsletter. And then also I'm going to going to share a bit about how to land opportunities, how to show it as a proof of work, how to use it as a proof of work, and how to use it to get clients or land opportunities. And of course, if time permits, I'll also like to share about how to grow your newsletters. And also, I've got a complete list from A to Z. So that's what we are going to do today. And yep, let's get started. I hope it's all clear so far. Just react with something if everything that I've told is clear. And I don't know why I always forget the basic thing to ask. Like, am I audible? Am I visible? This is something I always forget asking. And if possible, everyone please switch on your cameras, because if someone sees me from behind now, they'll be thinking I'm some mad person talking to an empty screen where like there's nothing here and I'm just talking. So it would be lovely if you can open your cameras. And I also understand that it's kind of what do you say? It's kind of dinner time for a few people if you eat early. So I don't even mind like if you're like just chilling, eating, and listening to the session. That's totally cool. And yeah, anything works. So let me start with the basic thing first. This notebook is kind of heavy, so I just can't have it right in front of me. So the first thing is, what is a newsletter? Just react with something if you already know what a newsletter is. Great, great. So a lot of people already know. Uh, to give you a quick overview of what a newsletter is, in that case, since already a lot of you know that, I would say if even if you don't know what a newsletter is, you must definitely like. Of course, I know that most of you are writers, so mostly you know what a blog is, right? So what a newsletter is nothing but a blog that comes to your email. So you write a blog, you publish it on the web. You write a newsletter, you sometimes publish it on the web and send it to the email, or sometimes you send it directly to the email. So instead of publishing on the web, what happens is whatever content you write, it gets directly delivered to your email. And it's not like a short description with a link to read where people say that, this is what I've written a new blog and click here to read the entire blog. So it won't be like that. What a newsletter is, it's something where the content itself directly comes and lands in your inbox, and you'll be reading the entire content on your email service provider only, not anywhere else. So that is what a newsletter is. Just like how you publish on social media, just like how you publish on, let's say, blogs, just like how you create content on YouTube, you create written content on newsletters and send it to your audience who are your subscribers, and they will receive it on their email and they'll read it on their email. So again, react with something if what a newsletter is clear to you. I like Kushal's reaction. Kaushal, if I pronounced it right. Yeah, Kaushal. Great. See, that's more engaging. I'd like to see more thumbs ups like this rather than on the screen. Right, right. It's also easier for you. You just need to nod like this rather than just finding that reaction button and trying to. Good, good. So the first thing I want to talk about is, why should you even care? Why should you even write a newsletter in 2023? So there are multiple reasons for it, and the first thing is that it is not controlled by any algorithm. Uh, think of the times where you post on LinkedIn or when you tweet or when you just say share a reel on Instagram, thinking that this content is going to be viral or this content is going to just kill it, and then it's going to go all over the places, and then it hardly gets 1 or 2 likes, right? So what happens is a lot of things on social media is controlled by the algorithm. You have to take care of the hook, you have to take care of the formatting of that specific uh, social media platform. You have to take care of what kind of content the audience respond to. Like, if you can't just post um, how you post on LinkedIn on Twitter, or how you post on Twitter on Instagram, right? There are specific formats to post on different social media platforms. But what happens is this all gets ruled out when you write a newsletter. When you write a newsletter, it's all about how you want to express what you want to express. So it's not, you don't have to worry about, okay, I have to follow this format. You don't have to worry about, okay, I have to post at this timing only. You don't have to worry about um, anything that is controlled by an algorithm. You don't have to worry about, okay, today most people will be posting, so I should leverage it, or today most people won't be posting, so today is the day I should post. You don't need to worry about all these things. You just need to find a time and a spot that works for you, where you can write better, you can deliver better to your audience, and that is how you can do your best. So it is not controlled by or any algorithms. So that is the first thing. And and the second thing is, it's not platform dependent. Okay, this is again a very popular theory that says, what happens if your social media account gets banned, or what happens if the platform itself gets banned. So the advantage with newsletters is that you always own your audience. In case of social media, let's say you've built a brand with, let's say, 20K followers on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden LinkedIn shuts down or LinkedIn bans your account. What happens? How do you gain advantage? How do you get control over your followers again? Uh, how do you have an account of all your followers? So that is something you don't have any control over. All of a sudden, overnight, your account gets disappeared, and you have to rebuild from scratch. Whereas with newsletters, you can constantly keep exporting your emails every time, let's say maybe for every month, you can export your email list, and you can have it saved somewhere, and it's just there. Like, even if you stop creating content for a while, or even if the platform gets banned, you still have your email list. You just need to move to another platform, and you need to do it. So that is one thing. It is platform independent. It's not dependent on any particular platform. And also, even if the email providing platform, even the newsletter platform itself gets banned now, then it's not going to matter. For example, in January, I used to write on Review before, which was acquired by Twitter. Yeah, Review was acquired by Twitter, and I used to write on Review. And after the Musk takeover, they've shut down Review. So what happens? Like, all of a sudden, all the content I've been creating is not gone. Like, for example, if on social media this happens, if LinkedIn gets banned or if Twitter gets banned, I don't have any access to my content. Maybe on Twitter, I think you can export tweets, but I'm not really sure on other platforms. But on newsletters, what happens is I just move from Review to Substack, and now I'm planning to move from Substack to Beehive. So, and this moving process is hardly takes any 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That's it. And you don't even need to do anything. I just click import. I just share the API key or something, and all the content gets imported. All the stats gets imported, and everything you need, everything uh, that you have created is safe, basically. So it's not dependent on any platform, it's not dependent on any algorithm. And the third thing is, this comes on a little advanced level. As you keep creating, as you keep gaining audience, as you keep building your brand, what happens is your audience grows. And after your audience um, improve, as the number improves, um, there is this leverage of uh, there's this leverage of targeting them. Okay, let's say, or let me just show you how this works. Okay, I hope I can share my screen. Yes, I can. So what you're looking at is Cognition's my newsletters dashboard. So I just go to the subscribers bar. What I do is I just apply a filter, and I just tell them, okay, currently I have 448 subscribers. So what I do is I just add a filter, and I want to check the activity. Activity is just like how much people are engaged with it. And I would want to see activities greater than equal to, let's say, 3 stars. 3 stars is again like rating. Um, 1 star is least engagement. 5 star is like maximum engagement. So I want to see people who are moderately engaged, who are uh, let's say if this number implies let's say 3 stars implies they'll open 3 issues out of every 5 issues published. So that is like decent enough, 60% of open rate when you consider that particular subscriber only. So when I apply it, what happens is I get 81 people I get 81 people whose activity is greater than equal to 3 stars. So I know that. So what happens is, let me just stop sharing. So what happens is, if I have to sell something, or um, if I have to find sponsors for my newsletters, if I have to monetize it, I know whom to target. Let's say if you have to do it on social media and you have a 6K followers or 10K followers, how will you find? Maybe you can tell that you have an engagement rate of 5%, 6%, 7%, whatever it is. You don't know who exactly are the people uh, that are engaging with your content, right? But when it comes to newsletters, you know exactly the people who are actively reading your newsletters, who are actively interested in your newsletters, and people who just want to read good stuff from you. So what happens is, imagine this thing, like if you have 1,000 subscribers and if you're pitching for a sponsor and you want to monetize it, instead of so let me give a pre-context to that. What you can do on newsletters is you can create segments are basically the groups, and you can categorize it based on different filters. For example, um, let's say you have 1,000 subscribers and 200 of them are actively engaging. They read almost every newsletter that you publish, every issue you publish. So when you create a group of those 200 people only, what happens is, uh, think about the difference in the narrative here. Imagine if I have 1,000 subscribers and I'm pitching to someone uh, about sponsorship. Instead of telling that I have 1,000 subscribers with 20% open rate or 20 to 25% open rate, I can pitch them telling that I have a 200 member email list with 85% or above email list. You can see the difference in authority while you're pitching. You can definitely tell that, this much I can guarantee: 85% of the people in a 200 email list will definitely open, will definitely read, and of course the click rate would be even more higher. Let's say if the average is around 2% or something. For this specific targeted group, it would be close to maybe 5%, 6%. So that is another advantage. You can create segments, you can target your audience, you can help these segments to get more sponsors to your newsletters or something like that. So that is how it helps, and it is again not possible on social media, or at least I can say that it is better possible on an email marketing tool, or on a newsletter. So that is the third point. The fourth one is, it acts as your proof of work, something that everyone here is familiar with it. But I am not going into details because I'll tell you more on this later. I'll tell you more on this, on how I have gained leads, how I have converted clients. And there are a couple of very interesting stories. So I'll get back to you on this. I'm not going to go to this in detail. We'll have a separate section for how to land opportunities. So I'll definitely discuss it there. Okay, so far we've discussed about what a newsletter is and why should you start a newsletter, which included that it's not controlled by a platform, it's not controlled by algorithm. You can target your audience. And what is the other point that I have to look my notes at? It acts as your proof of work. Then will kill me that for forgetting this point. Okay, so that's what we've discussed so far. What is a newsletter and why should you even care to write a newsletter? Just react with something if whatever I've told you so far makes sense and it's understandable. Cool. Great. Huh. So the next thing is where to write. Okay, you've convinced that you should write a newsletter, but where to start? Since you're a creator, even if you're not a creator, even if you're creating for a client or a company, these days I see three platforms that are doing decently good with the newsletters. And those three include: one, Substack; two, Beehive; and three, Convertkit. Out of which I've used Substack and Beehive personally. I never tried ConvertKit. So let me give a little overview of all the three things. So Substack is good for beginners. If you just want to write, figure out, it's free forever. And if you just want to write and publish and then figure out where you want to go with your newsletter, then Substack is perfect for you. It is very basic. You can write, you can add pictures, you can post. That's it. It's as simple as that. Very easy to use, easy to understand. But if you're more focused about your newsletter purpose, let's say you have a goal with your newsletter, let's say you're very clear with your thoughts on where to take your newsletter or what to use your newsletter for, then Beehive would be a good start. And then I think up to 2,500 subscribers, you have Beehive for free. And after 2,500, you have to pay around, I don't know if I remember it correctly, $99. So, so again, it works well when you have a goal in mind, when you have a budget in mind, when you have like um, clear overview of um, how you are going to utilize it, how you are going to um, how you're going in what direction you're going to move forward with your newsletter. So that is about Beehive. And after Beehive, there is Convertkit, which is again very easy to use, very um creator friendly. And I've seen the output of Convertkit. I haven't used Convertkit personally, but I've spoken to people who create and Convertkit, and they say that it's again pretty simple to use, and the features are good. You can create segments and also it's pretty good, I'd say. Like all the three platforms, if you're just starting out, it's a great way to just enter into the world of newsletters, to just write and understand how in which direction it is taking you and all. So these three platforms, I would recommend Beehive if you're serious about content creation and if you have a particular goal in mind, or if you have at least some basic plan laid out. If you just want to explore and if you just want to see how it works and all, you can try Substack. So that's about where to write. I can react with something if I'm clear. Also, can you hear any utensil sound or something? Because my maid is like she's washing dishes. If there is any difference, sorry, if there is any disturbance, please let me know. I'll ask her to move to the kitchen. No, great, great. Yeah. And what else? What else? Hmm. After that, I have this segment called "What Can You Write on Newsletters?" Now, you have figured out a few things. You've understood what a newsletter is, why you should even write it, and you also know what kind of platform works for you. Now, the important part is where to write, where to what do you say? Yeah, what to write. Sorry, got zoned out. Let me just ask my maid because it's getting too disturbing for me. Just give me 1 second.
Hey guys. So just wait for some minutes, okay? Also keep your questions ready if you have any questions. Like for example, how can you monetize, right? I'm sure he's not going to answer on that, but try to. Yeah, namaste. Yeah, so you can always maybe ask, right? Maybe get to understand which books, like yeah, so you can always ask him, right, like how because he is as a creator, he's currently in a journey of monetizing his content, right? So you can always ask him about how, as a newsletter person, like how can you monetize that, right? So there are multiple ways to it. Again, subscribers, you can do affiliate, right, and a lot of other things. Okay. uh, yeah, actually, this is where Vikra is going to share. Okay, so let's wait for him. Okay, so I hope he'll tell you, right, what are the different ways you can leverage your newsletter. Also, why you should write newsletter. He will maybe cover on this too. Okay, let's wait for that. Also, like a quick question for everyone. Where are you from? Like, can you just mention your cities? Like anyone, if anyone, like not anyone. This is for everyone. Okay, Twitter.
With this,
It's not Twitter anymore. It's X. Okay, Mathura, Chennai,
not ready for it yet.
Delhi,
Not
New
ready
Delhi,
for it.
Faridabad, Lucknow, India. Yeah, ठीक है यार. India, we know we are from India. Like Bangalore, okay, Bangalore, good. Bangalore people, hi, we'll meet very soon. So Mumbai, Prayagraj, Fuller. Oh, I love that Fuller.
Oh, yeah.
Chandigarh. Oh, nice. Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Vikra, over to you.
Yep. So sorry for that. And so, what can you write? I have three things on my mind, and my basic idea of content creation. has always been documentation. So it has been very simple for me. I don't create a content calendar. I don't create a idea. I don't do ideations as of like proper sit and do ideation sessions or something like that. My process of content creation is pretty simple, and my idea of content creation has always been the same, and it is documentation. So what I always do is I do something, I do some work for the client, I write how I did it in my content. That's as simple as that for me. And if you want to land more opportunities, or if you want to showcase how you think as a creator, how you work for your client, how you work as a writer, as a freelancer, what are your methods, what are your process, um, what is your differentiation, what if you look at the output is just the output. They see and they feel like, okay, this is good. But when you share the process, they understand how to do it, and you're teaching a lot of people your process. And that is what I always looked at uh, look, looked at as a content creator. I always wanted to document things, and that is what I do in both my newsletters, both on Cognition and on Vikra's Cafe. On Cognition, it's more like I do something for my client and then I write it down, mentioning that I write breakdowns, I write case studies. I tell that, okay, this I did this because I believe this. I did this because I think this would be right for the content and this would be the results that it will produce. And that might be both good or bad. Sometimes I think some strategies work and they don't work. Sometimes I think a strategy is just an average one or just a popularly used one, but then that one does really well for the client. So I just write it down. That's my uh, basic idea and basic process of content creation. But if I have to suggest a few more things, that would be what you can write in a newsletter is, first thing, of course, I'll definitely recommend to do documentation. The more you do documentation, the more the differentiating factor is. Like, you don't need to talk about how you can make uh, I see a lot of content telling that, you need to make how to make $5,000 a month, or how to make $1,000 a month, and people who are creating this content are not really making that much. So what's happening is, all of the things that you're presenting, even though it is like good research, good content and all, what's missing is the credibility and the authority. It doesn't matter how small a project you're working on, it doesn't matter how big a project you're working on, as long as you're sharing what you are doing, then it is then it will kind of uh, makes a differentiation, and also your audience connect with you that with that. I remember a lot of people telling me that, oh, you break down that name, that brand name, so I remember you for that. Or, oh, you wrote about an Naruto issue, I like it about that. Or you wrote about what do you say, workload management for a freelancer, I like about that. So it is easier to differentiate, it is easier to stand out, and it is easier to be you, and it's just easier to create more content. So that is one thing, that is definitely the thing I would recommend everyone to do. But if that's not what you want to do, there are two more things of what you can write in the newsletter. And the first thing is sharing your perspectives on different things. So if you're not working on anything, let's say, in my case, if I'm documenting, the only drawback is that not every time I have something happening in my life. Okay, I want to write a case study on my client's work, but sometimes I don't have a client. Sometimes it's just the same repetition process, that I don't have anything special that I can mention. Or sometimes it is just a half cooked story where I have to wait a month or a month and a half to create a proper case study out of it. So that's the downside of it. But with the thing I'm going to share now, what you can do is you can share your perspectives on different theories or different ideas. So you're not just copy pasting something else, you're not paraphrasing an idea. If you are unable to generate your own ideas or theories, what you can do is you can take a popular idea, you can take a widely known theory, and then you can present your opinion on it, and then you can maybe implement it in your life and tell how it's working for you. So a simple example could be, instead of telling people that do meditation every day so that you stay more calmer, you can do is you can take the idea of meditation, and you can take the idea of meditation and you can meditate for 30 days, and you can document every day's process, like how are you feeling after 30 days, how are you feeling after 10 days, how are you feeling after 20 days, how are you feeling after 30 days. So what you're doing is you're actually documenting, but also you're taking a popular idea on and um, giving your perspective on it. Or let's say there is a popular quote from a celebrity, and it's not something you believe in, even though that celebrity has a lot of fans and a lot of people believe in what that person says. You might have a different point of view towards it. So what you can do is you can write that opposing point of view. So you're picking an idea, you're presenting your perspective. So that is one thing you can do um, on your newsletter. And of course, if it is related to your work, it will definitely help you land more opportunities because you are going against the tide. Basically, you're not just believing, like, for example, if people say that you have to post daily on LinkedIn, and what you're doing is you're posting just twice or thrice a week, and then still you're getting good results. So you're going against the tide, but you're still, if you're bringing results, you can write your opinion on it. You can tell that, okay, people say that I need to create daily on LinkedIn, but I don't think so. I think otherwise, and this is why. So that is another kind of content you can create. And the third thing is like outright content curation, where you pick ideas and present it in a better way. Mitesh is in the call. Mitesh is like one of my favorite curators, and also Alex and Books is another curator that I really like. So what Alex does is he doesn't really create a new idea. Uh, he doesn't really present something that which is not already there. So what Alex does is he picks a book, and out of, let's say, 20 topics mentioned in a book, he picks out three topics that he thinks are most valuable to his audience. Okay, so what's happening is, you're although you are sharing what's written by someone else or what's presented by someone else, um, you're still you're still presenting it, you're creating it in a way that uh, I got distracted by Mitesh's message. Okay, so what was I saying? Okay, so when you're creating, what you are differentiating yourself with the presentation. um, so yeah, everybody writes about books. You know a lot of people who writes about books, but not everyone is as successful as Alex's newsletter, right? The reason is they differentiate themselves with presentation. So even if I go back to Mitesh's example, now he's writing a lot of his content, but maybe 2 years ago, he used to have this thing on bio telling that content curator, and even in his newsletters, he still has some sections where he shares the podcasts he's listening to, he shares the content that is consuming, all this stuff. So what happens is, how you present becomes a differentiating factor, and also your taste matters. Like, after a certain period of time, what happens is, uh, again, I'm going to give Mitesh's example because he's in the call. So what happens is, I know that if Mitesh posts something or Mitesh tells that something is good, I trust that it's going to be good, or it's going to be just above average for sure. So that's what you can do. And again, it depends a lot on playing to your strengths as a writer. Like, if documentation is something you can easily do, if you for me, I can keep working and subsequently I get ideas, I'll just note it down, and after that I'll write a breakdown of it. So that is my strength, and that is something I can do better. And if you're someone who can present stories better, like a curator, if you're someone who can tell that, think of your friends who tell that, this movie is great and all, like, they don't give you any context about the movie, but they'll tell you good enough things about movie that you want to watch it. So those kind of people become good curators. So what to write also depends on understanding your purpose. Where do you want to take your newsletter to? If you want to get more leads from it, maybe you want to write more of case studies. If you want to build an audience of your own way, maybe you need to break down your work and you need to share your processes and all. And again, after that, understanding what kind of writing works for you. If you're good with presentations, maybe curation is good for you. If you are someone who has different ideologies, or if you're someone who can always find a contrasting opinion or something like that, uh, maybe presenting opinions on different topics, that kind of newsletter might work for you. And again, if you're someone like me who enjoys documenting, then it's all you need to do. So These are the three things that come under like what can you write as a newsletter writer: documentation, presenting opinions on different things, and outright curation, where you pick something and you present it in a way that your audience like it, or present it in a way that audience find it valuable. So just react with something if it's clear so far. Good, thank you. Great so far. Again, just an overview of everything. We have discussed what a newsletter is, why should you write a newsletter, where to write a newsletter, and what can be written in a newsletter. What do I have next? Okay, so now I want to talk about what makes a good newsletter. Okay, so now you've decided what you're going to write on. How can you make it better? How can you present it better? How what template can you follow? What writing style can you follow? Or what kind of images do you need to take care of and everything? So the first thing is I think niche works, niching down works. Um, For Cognition, if I can take my newsletter as example, it has always been about three things. Either it will be content creation, freelancing, or writing. It was never about going out of those three domains. And even if I have to go out of it, I would create a different newsletter for it, because I know that my audience are specifically coming from this and they don't want to read anything else from my newsletter apart from this. All of a sudden, tomorrow, if I start talking about productivity, a few people might even a few people might even unsubscribe to the newsletter, right? So that's not something we want. People want to consume different things from different people. Okay, people who want to consume writing from me might not want to consume something else from me. Okay, so and even you as a creator can be good at different things. Let's say you have uh, let's say you are a finance creator, and who can I think of? Okay, think of Tanmay Bhatt. Tanmay Bhatt has an AI podcast. Tanmay Bhatt has a finance channel. Okay, even though he's a creator I like, it's not always that I follow his finance channel. Okay, I like his business thing. I like him when he talks about AI. I like when he does vlogs, and I like his reaction videos. So that is the part of the creator I want to consume from. And finance is something I feel like maybe other creators teach him better than him. So I want to consume finance maybe from CA Rachna or Ankur Warikoo or someone who does well in the finance. Maybe is that Sharon or someone else? Okay. So I think that's what makes good newsletter. You have to understand what you're good at. You have to understand what your audience wants to listen from you, and and after that you have to provide them that, and you have to stick to providing that. You don't want to move it to something more dramatic or something really drastic. So even if I have to move to something more personal on my business newsletter, that is Cognition, even if I have to write something personal, what can I write is I can write how freelancing sometimes take a toll on me. I can write how not how facing dry spells um, can uh, can just disturb my entire sleep schedule or something like that. Okay, or how it hits my finances. So although these things, I'm getting a little personal and I'm not really talking about work, I'm just telling my side of the story, and I'm still saying it as a freelancer, I'm still saying it as a writer. So it is something that other people would relate to, and it's a side of me that people want to resonate to. But all of a sudden, if I publish in Cognition telling that, you know what, I'm not feeling that great, so instead of writing today, let me just talk about my recent relationship and breakup. What happens? All of a sudden, like you'll be like, why are you even talking about? Maybe breakups people will be interested, but other topics not so much. So that's how niching works. And also, if you're looking at the long term game, like maybe monetization or something like that, people would want to companies would want to invest in newsletters that are more personalized, because they know it is direct targeting to their audience. So let's say Fueler wants to sponsor Cognition. They know that there are a lot of freelancers who needs proof of work, right? So it will be easier for them to sponsor me and trust in sponsoring me, rather than sponsoring Vikra's Cafe, which is more personal, and you don't know if the people might be doing jobs, people might be students, people might be uh, above 50 age, anything. Okay, so you don't really know if they need a proof of work or not. But with Cognition, Fueler definitely knows that they need a. I have an audience that needs proof of work, so it will be easier for them to trust and advertise or just invest in advertising with me rather than a newsletter like Vikra's Cafe. So that would be the advantages of niching down. And how do you find a niche? I think it how do I put this? I think it depends on two factors. Um, One thing is what you do. So, if you are a writer, if you want to build an audience as a writer, you write about writing. If you are a creator, you want to audience on creation, you talk about content creation. And the second thing is what you like and what you want to recommend to people. So if you're someone who loves movies, and if you're someone who loves talking about movies, maybe what you can do is break down of a movie. You can just tell that, okay, watch this movie, I watched this movie, these are the good parts about it, these are the bad parts about it, this is what I like about it. So what happens is you are already interested in it, so you'll be invested and it will be easy to stay consistent and all. And I think if you ask me, these are like two most important factors to find a niche. Either you write about what you do, or you write about what you like, and that what you like and you want to recommend it to someone else. So what makes a good newsletter? The first thing is niching down. And again, people like to consume, so basically this revolves around the same point, that people likes to consume different content from different people. Some people like to read only Vikra's Cafe from me, not Cognition. Some people like to read only Cognition from me, not Vikra's Cafe. So with the diversity of content and content creators, it has become very easier for the audience to choose um, where to consume content from. And if you are just providing a lot of options, they will find it easier to consume from someone who is specialized in it, or who is writing specifically in that niche only. So niching definitely works. And having said that, I have a two. I have a couple of points that would contradict myself, where I would contradict myself, because I say niching is important, but in Cognition there is a non-technical segment. So in Cognition, basically there are two segments: technical and non-technical. For those who don't know, in technical segment, I talk about my work, how I did, what I did, etc. In non-technical segment, I write about maybe the book I'm reading, the podcast I watched, the song I love, the movies I've watched, and all. So I don't think it works for everyone. In some way, it has worked for me. The basic strategy behind that was, um, there was one strategic thing and there was one silly reason. So the strategic thing was, I know that my content is text heavy. There's going to be a lot of text and it is long form. So all my newsletters are somewhere between 700 to 1,000 words. So after reading a 700 to 1,000 word newsletter, I don't want my readers to feel heavy. I don't want my readers to feel like, they have invested a lot of energy and something like that. So what I want to do is, I have included non-technical segment just to make them feel a little lighter, because now it's like having games period after a math period. So they have invested in reading the newsletter. They have read it with a complete concentration. Now let me give something to them on a lighter note. Maybe a song to listen to, a movie that they can watch on a weekend, a book to read from. Okay, so that was the strategy and it kind of worked out, but it's not something I would recommend it for anyone else. It's something maybe you can have it as two separate newsletters, technical segment and non-technical segment, but it has worked out for me. And another silly reason was, this was like right in the beginning of my content creation. I thought, like, even if people don't like the content now, they'll at least like the songs I recommend or the movies I recommend. So it's like, at least I'm not, even if I'm not uh, providing the value my readers expect to, what I can do is I can at least leave them with a good soft song or good nice story that they can go and watch to. So it's more of a hospitality thing, I thought, where I could share something on a lighter note that then can at least take something with it, if not the content. So again, that was one thing about that was one contradictory thing about niching. Although I focus on creation, freelancing, and writing, I also do other things on my newsletter. And having said that, I have this another newsletter called Vikra's Cafe, which is completely personal. It's like uh, it's like vlogging but in writing. So basically, personal blog is what we can say. So again, it doesn't have any niche. So I say niche, 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 but again, because cafe doesn't have any niche. Sometimes if I go travel, I write about the places I visited. If I meet people, I write about the people I've visited. If I observe something on road, I write about what I think about it or what I observe. So it doesn't really have any niche. But what separates Vikra's Cafe and Cognition here is the purpose I write Vikra's Cafe and Cognition. On Cognition, I'm very specific about teaching the audience, and I'm very specific about, okay, this is the theory that I have formed, this is the observation that I made, this is something that I've tried and tested, and I want you to try it out for yourself and see how it works for you. It is something I recommend, it is something I teach, it is something I want people to go and explore themselves. Whereas in Vikra's Cafe, I'm very specific. Like even in the about section, it is written clearly that I don't intend to teach anything here. This is just a platform where I express myself, and I hope that you have a good time reading this. I'm not intending to teach anything. So this differentiation in purposes defeats the need for having a niche in Vikra's Cafe. But whereas if you're someone who is who's creating content or who's writing newsletters to land more opportunities or something like that, then niching definitely works. For example, like Cognition, which has landed me opportunities, which has built me audience, and hopefully one day which will help me make money also. So with things like this, niching down always works. But when you're writing a personal newsletter, or when your purpose is as simple as just expressing yourself or just building a writing portfolio or something like that, it can act as your writing proof of work also. Let's say if you haven't worked with a lot of clients, and you don't have, let's say you don't have any specific purpose with your newsletter, you don't want to build an audience, you don't want to just express yourself randomly, what you can do is you can write whatever you feel like writing, and you can use it as your proof of work, telling that, okay, I haven't worked with a lot of clients, but I can at least show that, this is my writing skill. Okay, maybe writing for a client and writing for myself is completely different, but still you can see my writing style, you can still see how I format content, you can still see how I am addressing the readers and all this stuff, right? So that's how it acts as your proof of work also. And again, as I've said, I'm going to get in detail uh, with respect to proof of work soon in a bit. So that's the first point. We're still at the first point on what makes a good newsletter, that is niching down. And the next thing is templatization. And I'll tell you what a template is. If you have read James Clear's newsletter, it is in a 3-2-1 format where he shares three ideas from himself, two ideas from the people he know and admire, um, and one idea or one question to ask yourself, one question for the audience. So what is he doing is he has a templatized newsletter, which means that every issue he publishes will follow the same template. Okay, so whatever issue you pick, it's going to be in the same format. You'll get three perspectives from him, two perspectives from other people, and one question for yourself. So, from what I have observed, there are a couple of advantages with templatization. So first thing is it is easier to write. It is easier to stay consistent. Okay. So the thing is, this is divided into proper segments. So if you're writing weekly, you don't have to sit 2 hours, 3 hours to write the entire newsletter. Let's say if you're writing in a 3-to-1 format, one day you can sit for the first three, the three part of the newsletter, and next day you can sit for the two part of the newsletter, and after that you can see the last part of the newsletter. So writing in snippets becomes easier, which results in being more consistent. Something that I've seen with Kushagra, if you know him on Twitter, he has been very active, and I think in the last 15 weeks he has been publishing every Sunday, and he follows a 1-1-1 format. Uh, and it's again very pretty simple to understand, pretty easier to write. You know what you're going to write about. You know You don't need to worry about the format. You don't need to worry about the outline. You just know that okay, you need to work on one idea. You need to work on two podcasts. You need to work on, let's say, three quotes or three Twitter threads or something like that. If you're curating your news, if you're curating in your newsletter. So that's the advantage of templatization. And I have something else written down. I forgot. Um, yeah. Also, I have observed this thing with the newsletters that are templatized. You can understand that audience don't come to read your entire newsletter. So what happens is, if I read Mark Manson's newsletter, the author of Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So if I read his newsletter, there are multiple sections in his newsletter, and it's a very templatized newsletter. It's always the same format every time he publishes. I only read his newsletter for the one question he asks every week. He publishes every Sunday, and he asks one question. And as I speak, I don't even remember what's above it and what's below it. So I pick my section in the entire newsletter. As an audience, I don't want to read the entire newsletter. I pick one section in their content. I like that section. I pick it. So the advantage again here with templatization is that you don't have to be good in all aspects. Your audience will like one aspect of it and they'll come for that one aspect. So that is another advantage of creating templates and all. Again, quite contradictorily, I don't have any template to Cognition or Vikra's Cafe. It's very random. It's quite different, and it never followed a template. It never followed a format. Only template Cognition followed is having a technical and non-technical segment. So the reason for that is, I'm telling this because if you're someone like me, maybe this one helps because uh, you don't want to force yourself into templates when that is not something that works for you. For me, I like to have a lot of empty space. I just want myself to go wild on content. I don't. If I follow a template, what happens is I feel very restricted. I feel that okay, I have to write this and this only. And what happens if I get another outline or something like that? I never had outlines. I never had a fixed templates. I never wanted to do content in specific format only. So that's why it has helped me out. I think that's why sometimes I write 1,000 word, 2,000 word newsletter. Sometimes I just wrap it up in like 300, 400 words. But in both cases, it is providing value to the reader. So if you're someone who writes like that, if you're someone who likes to just let free of everything. You just want space where you can express, and sometimes you can write it. You can write short form content. Sometimes you end up writing a long form content. But still, if that's something that works for you, go against the tide. Go against people saying that templates work and templates are easier to write. Templates are easier to stay consistent. But what's the point of all this if you're not good at it? If you're not um, if it's not something that you can give your best in, if it's not something you can be the most effective. So that is the point about templatization. What makes a newsletter good? Templatization, definitely. It makes it easier for the audience, it makes it easier for the writers, it makes it easier for everyone to stay consistent, or even your audience know that what they can expect. But again, if you think that that's not what you should be doing, then it's always worth a shot to do something else. Hmm. So that was the second point. Templatization always, not always, but mostly works, or at least makes things easier for you, if not works. And the last thing is, especially in newsletters, I feel it is very important to have a good mix of visuals and text, because all our time with our emails, we are not used to reading long emails. Emails are supposed to be short. Emails are supposed to be like, uh, we have hardly seen emails that like cross the entire desktop. Like you don't have to scroll to read the emails. But when newsletter comes in an email, what happens is you might send an entire 5 minute read or a 7 minute read. So people are not usually used to reading such long form content um, on emails. So What you can do is you need to have a good mix of visuals versus content. For example, if you're writing a thousand word newsletter, it is good to have at least four visuals in it, and that would make a good balance of text versus visuals. And what can you do more? Or if you're writing something very short, like if you're writing a 300 word post, it's good to have um, one image or one video or something like that. If you're adding three images for a um, 300 word post, you're going to lose your audience because they are never really into content. They are never really invested in it. Like they read two lines, they want to read more, and all of a sudden there is a visual that's disturbing it. Unless it's contextual, or unless it's something that's absolutely needed, um, then it's best to avoid it. But if you can crack the perfect balance between the amount of text you're including in the newsletter versus the amount of visuals that you're including, it would be great as a newsletter. And I'm trying to figure out the reason. I'm trying to think of how it can be good. Okay, the good thing with adding visuals is that 1,000 word post feels like a 600 word post when there are good visuals included in it. So they never feel like they are reading long blocks of text. They don't feel like they are reading continuously. So that is what helps when you have like good balance of visuals in your newsletter. So these are the three most important points I think that makes a good newsletter. The first thing is, of course, niching down, being specific about what you're going to offer to your audience, because that helps them understand what they can expect. The second thing is templatization, where you create template. It will be easier for you to stay consistent. It will be easier for you to, what do you say? It will be easier for you to write, and it will also be easier for our audience to pick different segments, or at least expect or at least know what they can expect from you. And the third thing is having a good mix of uh, visuals and text, because what happens is you can just make a 500 word post feel like a 300 word post, and they feel like, and you're what you're doing is you're making them read long form content without really making them feel like they are reading long form content. So these are the three things I'd say that uh, that would make a good newsletter, at least to begin with, and after that, maybe once you write more, you'll figure out more things on your own. So having said that, is that clear? Like I've just finished this section. Just react with something if it's clear and if I'm making sense, if I'm not boring you, if you're not cursing me, anything works. Great, great. So yeah, again, an overview just in case if anybody joined late. We've discussed what is a newsletter. We've discussed why you should write a newsletter, where you should write, what can you write, and what can be a good newsletter. So we've discussed all of these things. And let's say if you're creating content on social media, you know what metrics to count. You know that you have to see at the number of likes, and you have to check that. Okay, that can be a KPI. You want to see that if your likes are increasing, if your comments are increasing, if your followers are increasing or not. But what is that for a newsletter? What metrics to consider for a newsletter? I'd say three things. One is obviously the subscriber count. And for a lot of days I was under this impression that quality is the most important thing, and take care of I need to take care of the quality first, and readers come by themselves. Readers come and they'll enjoy the content. I should make sure of that, which is definitely important. But that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter the amount of quality I put in if I'm not able to scale it. If only 100 members are reading my content, and if I'm putting my everything into it, then it's not really making sense for me as a creator. And um, practically speaking, although how much irrespective of how much I love to teach, irrespective of how much I want to make an impact, how much I want to provide value, I also do it because I want to earn some money via it. I also do it because I want to get something in return, not just the subscribers. Subscribers don't feed me. I need money. So these are the metrics that you need to follow. You need to take care of. What is the subscriber count? And the second thing is obviously the open rates. Open rates matter. People say that, even if 20% reads it, there's still a 20% reading. That's not the case. You want to improve it. You want to segment it. You want to show it as big, even if it is not big. For example, I've given you this thing now. If you have 1,000 subscribers, and if 200 of them are engaging repeatedly, instead of telling that 20% of my subscriber list is engaging, you can create a segment of 200 people and say that uh, out of a two, I have a segment of 200 people, out of which 85% or more are very active, and 85% of or more open. Just imagine posting these stats on social media. Just imagine posting these, uh, sending this as a pitch to a sponsor. So this all helps. How you portray stats on social media is more important than what the actual stats are, to be honest. And that's the reason these are the metrics that matter. One thing is open rate, second thing is the click through rate, how many people are clicking on the links that you're sharing. Of course, it depends from what kind of content you're creating. If you're creating something like a documentation kind of thing like I create, the click rate might be a little lower. But if you're creating uh, if you're creating a newsletter where you're curating a lot of stuff, where you're sharing podcasts, where you are sharing different things, you want people to click more, because you want to know that if people are really clicking and watching what you're recommending, if you are really making them curious to click on that blog, to click on that YouTube or not. So these are the three metrics that matter, three metrics that you need to take care of when you're building your newsletters. One is subscriber count, two is open rates, and three is the click through rate. So I hope I'm clear with this. Again, react with something if I'm clear. Great, great. Perfect. The next thing is the key part, coming to the key part, how to land opportunities from newsletters, how to get clients, how to get sponsors, how to get uh, maybe a job if you're looking for a job. So I just wrote down this equation this morning. It says proof of work plus documentation is equal to killer opportunities. Let me repeat that for you. Proof of work plus documentation is equal to killer opportunities. I'll tell you why. Proof of work is what you did. Okay. Proof of work is telling people that okay, I did this. This is my work. This is the proof. Okay. Documentation is how you did it. You're not only showing okay, this is my work. You're also telling this is my thought process behind it. This is my breakdown behind it. This is why I did what I did. And I feel like, especially in writing, as a writer, it's something I truly believe in. uh, if I call out a writer, and if I pick any one line from the entire piece of content, and if I ask them like why did you write this line and not any other line, or what is the purpose of this line, they should be able to tell why they wrote what they wrote. So they should have a theory behind what they are writing, why they are writing. So it shouldn't be like, okay, I thought of this first, so I'm writing about this first. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a well thought out thing. Only then I feel like you'll have a better understanding over your work, or only then you can be more self aware about it. So the reason I'm emphasizing more about it is proof of work is definitely great for people who look just at the output, but there are people who look at the how part. To give you an example, let me share my screen. Archive. Okay. So, so this is an issue where I wrote about how I, excuse me. So I wrote about how I named a brand basically. So the context is, I worked with, so there was a supermarket chain which is starting a sub branch, and they want like just like a more retail, or just like, um, what are some famous supermarkets? So just like heritage or something. So this is one brand that wants to get a name basically, and I'm not even a brand name strategist. And they came to me, and I worked on it. Unfortunately, they didn't select that name, but I still have the entire process. So what I did is I wrote down the entire thing, and I've given a breakdown of, let's say, what is the step one, how did I understand the brand, what what is the research I did, what are my notes, what are the points I considered. As you can see, like I've considered different things like what are the words different people associate with, what can be good prefixes, what can be good suffixes. These are a few brands that are popular for supermarkets in India. So all these things I've considered and I've documented it and I've presented it. So what happened is, so let me just stop sharing. Okay. So what happened is, there's this another person who is from a tech background who saw this thing, and I don't have any experience in naming brands, first thing. And second thing, in naming a tech brand, I have like zero experience. So what they did is, even though they know that I don't have any experience in tech, they reached out to me. That deal didn't happen because they were offering too less, but they still reached out to me. I got a lead because they liked my process of getting to a brand name. They've read this issue. Someone read this issue and they have recommended it um, to their marketing manager. And this is how I got a lead. This is how I got a lead with documentation. Okay. Now, if they ask me, I have a proof of work of the brand names. I can tell that, what is your proof of work. I can tell that, okay, these are the brands that I've named, and I can share and I can show them. And with that, if I also share documentation, it's not like everybody is going to read. It's not like they're not going to care about reading the entire thing, but it would be a good plugin to kind of put it, telling that, these are the brands I named. This is how I do it. Okay, so for people who are more invested in processes, for example, if I have to hire someone, I would definitely look at how would they approach things more than what outputs they have produced, because how they approach things, if that is right, outputs will improve with time, and improve faster when compared to just output oriented stuff without knowing what their processes are, or without being aware of how they do things. So that is one story. And another story is, so basically I love Naruto. For people who don't know, it's an anime, and if you don't know, I don't know what you're doing with your life. But so it's an anime, and okay, let me show that. Let me just go to archive. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so okay, let me just tell this. And where is this? Where is this? So I wrote this issue called "Why I Love Naruto," and this is in April. This is in April. I started watching Naruto in December. I think I finished it in April. I finished Shippuden in April, and I was I just loved it. I just loved it, and um, I wrote about it. I just wrote that, I what I loved about it. I liked its writing. I like the characters. I like the detailing and backstories it has got. I like how they've explained complex things. So basically, it's like a combat thing, a ninja story. So whatever the techniques they are used, uh, it's not like a film where people tell that, some magic happens and somewhere protagonist gets solutions. They clearly explains why or how happens. So I really like the writing behind it. And I also told about, what characters I relate to, and uh, why I love the BGM and all. Okay, that's irrelevant. I'm just being a fanboy here. So the thing is, I wrote this, and a few days later I got this message from one of the top toy making companies in Germany and France. And like, it is well known. Like, I don't know if I can say the brand name, but it is well known. If I say the name, it's probably you might be familiar with it. So they are number one in Germany and France, and they are well known throughout the world. Their marketing head reached out to me telling that, they are conducting a Takeshi's Castle kind of a show for Naruto fans. So it's like a reality show for Naruto fans, and what they are going to do is, uh, it's like a show, and they have like different walls, and I have to write copies. Uh, for example, it's like a maze kind of thing, and if you're walking, you want to see the dialogues from Naruto, something like that. So that was my project, and I say till date it is one of the most interesting project, and it's a project that I've finished in 3 hours because I don't have to do any research. Also, like I know all the dialogues from the series and all, and it's also got very niche because I watched it in English. So they wanted someone who is a writer who loves Naruto and who watched Naruto in what do you say, in English. So I ticked all the three boxes, and this is something that was found on Google. So that is another advantage with newsletters. You can publish on web and and to your email subscribers. So somewhere they found it. I worked with them. It was just a short one-time gig, but it's one of my favorite gigs. And this was when I went to Korg actually. So I just worked for 3 hours, and it covered my entire travel expenses for that thing. So it is kind of one of my biggest flex, I would say, and also one of my favorite gigs. So this is how, like, even though if it is not relevant directly to your work, like Naruto is nowhere related directly to my work, but I still got a client, I still got a lead, right? So this is one way. And what can possibly be in future is, you can see there is a lot of travel content. I wrote about Bangalore, I wrote about Goa, uh, I wrote about Kurg, and I also wrote about Pune. So what happens is, maybe one day a travel site might reach out to me asking to write travel content, or maybe I can show this as my proof of work, telling that, I write travel content, I've written for myself, maybe I can write for someone else, or I have a little idea about travel, so maybe I can make it a niche of my own. So this is another way of landing opportunities, where you don't directly talk about your work, but it still helps you get you leads. Like, I do this just for fun. I wrote this Pune series or the Bangalore series or Goa or Coor or any kind of travel content I wrote, because I'm just happy that I have finally met people that I have known for a long time on Twitter. I'm just writing to express that. And all of a sudden, it might turn me into a travel creator one day, or it might turn me into someone who writes in a travel niche. So you never know. So it's important um, to keep writing about what you like in newsletters, and I think that's how it's going to help you land opportunities. So these are the two examples I can give of how I got it, because proof of work is already there. Like on Fueler, I have my profile. Oh, let me just stop sharing this is distracting. Okay, so proof of work is already there. I have my portfolio on Fueler. I have my proof of work on Fueler. Whenever a client asks if you have something in some niche, I can send it to them directly. But if someone reads my newsletter, maybe they like that. Maybe they like the way I work. Maybe they think that I might be good for the job. And and I've got a few leads like that where people recommend that, there is this guy who writes and who knows a fair deal about his writing, not the entire writing, but he knows what he is doing. And if they are looking for someone like me, it would be easier for them to hire me. So that is one thing. And of course, if you're writing a personal newsletter also, it can directly impact the leads that you get. It might not be direct, it might not be as frequent, but you'll still get it. So these are a few things on how you can land opportunities. And yeah, I would say this one thing only, like proof of work with documentation is equal to killer opportunities, definitely. So you're not only sharing what you have worked on, you're also sharing how you work. So it's like them watching you work, or them understanding, your recruiters understanding how you work without actually directly working with you. So that is why I feel it's a killer combination. And I have last topic over there, that is how to grow. I think it will be a good place to wrap this session. I'm sorry I took 20 minutes long. Knowing myself, I knew that it's going to be more than an hour, and I tried to be as quick as possible. So, yeah, the last points, how to grow. The first thing is cross promotions and shout outs. I know how much Ritain has promoted my newsletter. I know how Mitesh has promoted his newsletter. So it's good to make friends. It's good to have people who support you and all. But also, for example, there is Pranav here. Pranav and I cross promoted on Vikra's Cafe. I promoted his newsletter on mine. Uh, he promoted his on he promoted mine on his. So, and we did this when we don't really know each other properly. Like we just talked as two newsletter writers who are looking to cross promote each other. Now after that, we've talked about different things, and now we are kind of friends. I don't know if he thinks I am a friend, but yeah. So cross promotion definitely works, uh, especially if you have similar audience. For example, um, if I have to promote with, let's say, Pranav again, uh, Cognition might not be the right newsletter to cross promote with, but Vikra's Cafe will definitely be, because the audience is kind of similar. Or even, let's say, Mitesh's newsletter, where he writes more of his personal stories or observations, which is very similar to Vikra's Cafe. So cross promoting with Mitesh with Cognition doesn't make any sense. But if I do that with Vikra's Cafe, then it makes more sense. So finding the right partners to cross promote with definitely helps you grow the newsletter, because you're just sharing audience and you're just giving two instead of one. Like instead of just instead of them just consuming from one good creator, now they're consuming from two good creators. And the next thing is obviously shout outs. You have friends on social media, you have different people that you. It's good to ask them, it's good to tell them that, you've been reading my newsletter, and I know that you like it, and it would mean a lot if you could promote it on social media, right? So that definitely helps to grow. And for all of you who are listening to this, promote my newsletter on social media. So that's how you need to ask it. That said, let just DM people asking that, I know that you like my newsletter. You have shared compliments with me personally, but it would mean a lot if you do that publicly, because other people know about that as well. And the next thing is social media distribution, and sharing milestones, testimonials, etc. Someone commenting good on your newsletter, someone giving an email reply, someone, uh, let's say you reach a milestone, let's say 500 subscribers, 1000 subscribers, anything, just share it on social media. Just let people know that your newsletter is doing well. And because hardly what, even if you publish frequently, you publish what, 4 times a month, 4 times in 30 days, and all the 26 days people have no idea what you're doing. So it's important to keep talking about your newsletter. It's important to keep talking about what you are writing, or it's important to post snippets of what you have written before. All these kind of things do really to help people remember your newsletter. Again, with the diversity of content and content creators, it is hard for people to just stick to one content creator. And if you're not vocal enough about your content, people will definitely forget you. So that is another way to grow. Keep talking more about it on your social media, and that's what helped me actually. I speak a lot about my newsletters on social media. It definitely helps. And the next thing is referrals. Uh, Referrals recently, if I can show you again, if you can share my screen. Substack recently introduced this referral program. I heard it's in Beehive also. I'm not really sure. So let me just go to Cognition. And where's the leaderboard? Okay, go here. Leaderboard. So this is a referral program basically. So I've set 3 levels of rewards, where the first is a private WhatsApp community. It's invite only for now, invite only and via referral program. So I have created a value driven community where I help writers become better writers, where we discuss different things, and even the community helps me become a better writer and creator. So there are different things on different levels of rewards that you can set up, and you can create a unique link for different people. For example, if you log into this page uh, from your desktop or from your phone, you get a separate link for it, and that you can refer. And once you do that, there is this leaderboard of people who have referred, and that also shows that how many people they have referred and how many subscribers that you've gained from referrals. So again, this is good way. So I know these people are my regular readers of content, and just because I have created a referral program, you can see 4, 8, 11, 12, 13. They've gained me 13 subscribers just with the referral program. And as people grow and as you give more valuable rewards, um, it just helps. It just helps to gain more subscribers, because that is the best way to grow, if you ask me. Subscribers bringing subscribers, because they, I think, people only share what they are proud of. People don't want to share something and be embarrassed about it. So when people are sharing your work, it means that it means that they are proud to show what you're creating. So if you think, and if your audience think that you're creating something that is proud to show off, then a referral program is a great way to grow your newsletter. So that's the third point. And the fourth thing is lead magnets, which I'm not a big fan of, where you create something of value. Let me stop sharing. Okay. Where you create something of value. Let's say if I create a PDF or an ebook on writing, on some basic writing, or just say if I wrap this entire session in text, and if I share uh, share an ebook, what happens is it acts as my lead magnet, where I can offer it for free, and then people give their emails in exchange of it, and then I add these emails, and then I can add these emails onto my email list. The reason I'm not a big fan of this is because it gives you a lot of less quality readers, where people are just about ebooks. They just download it, which they never read, and even after adding them to the list, it's they never open it. Of course, you can apply segmentation. Of course, you can apply filters, and you can treat them out. But this is one way of growing. I'm not a big fan of it. Uh, but again, it is a great way to grow. It is a quick way to grow. If you want to increase followers, if you want to increase subscribers quickly, you just need to sell some basic PDF for free in exchange of emails, and you'll get a bunch of emails um, that you can put it on your email list, and then from there you can filter it out, and then you can do different things to grow. So yeah, Urvashi is right. It affects the open rates too, and it is important to have good open rates. So yeah, lead magnets is one thing, and as you grow, community is a good way to grow. Now I can see the benefits of community. What's happening is, whenever people are uh, whenever I write something, and I can post it in my community that the newest issue is out or something like that. We can have discussions on the issues that I've recently published, or whenever there is a discussion coming, I can freely promote my own thing. Like if I have to promote something on Fueler or any other, let's say, community, I am very conscious of it not looking like a spammy thing. I want to be absolutely sure that um, whatever I share has to be relevant. Like if I'm putting a link, it has to be relevant to what I'm talking about. But in community, it is easier to grow. It is easier to make conversations about your content. It is easier to basically promote your work more. And in return, of course, you'll be giving a lot of value, a lot of help to your community, and that's what you can do. That's how your community helps you when you help your community. So these are the five things I can tell are good to grow, right? So yeah, these are the five things: cross promotions and shout outs, social media distribution, or being vocal on social media. Uh, yeah, being vocal on social media about your newsletter, about the milestones, about the testimonials, etc. Um, and of course, referral, setting up referral programs, giving good enough incentives as rewards for them to sign up to your referral program and share your work with others. And after that, lead magnets, where you can share something for free instead of in exchange of an email ID from them, and then you can add those email IDs to your newsletter. And after that, of course, community. As you grow, as you have more audience, it is good to have a community. It is good to have uh, a community that is like value driven instead of just a promoting channel. Uh, Practically speaking, it is a promoting channel, but when you look at it closely, people will leave. Eventually, it becomes too spammy. So you want it to be value driven. You want people to have good conversations over there, and you want people to have good time, just have fun. And that is how, and they themselves will promote your newsletter, and they themselves will talk about your newsletter more. So I think that's it. That's all I have for today's session. I think I've covered everything, pretty much everything except the monetization part. And since I haven't done any monetization, I don't think it would be fair for me to speak on monetization. But maybe one day we can have another session when I monetize my content, and then I can share my views on that also. I can share how you can monetize. I can share how you can create content that sells or makes you money. So yeah, that's it from me. If you have any questions, I'm here. If you have anything, I'm here. Just drop some reaction if you've liked it or anything like that. If I made sense. Yeah. So yeah, where can I see the questions?
So,
So Chetan, yeah, you can go. Chetan.
hi, Vikra. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this session. It was very informative. I just had one question. See, newsletters are mostly shared through emails, right?
Right.
So, if your audience wants to, say something or be part of the whole content creation thing, the only way is they have to reply to you, and then they can share some ideas and collaborate with you, right? That's the only way. Because on Facebook or LinkedIn or Medium, when you share content, there's a comment section in which people are interacting and asking questions, and it's much more collaborative than a newsletter. Is there any way to make a newsletter more collaborative rather than just making your audience consume content?
I think each of it has its own advantages. So if you see social media, it is more collaborative. But if you look at newsletters, it is more one-on-one. So what you can do is this little test will explain you, will make you understand like how it works. The best, take any of your favorite creators and go to their social media and comment 5 times and see how the response is. Like sometimes you get, I'm talking about creators with big following, and when you comment on that post, sometimes they reply, sometimes they don't, and it is collaborative. So maybe other followers might comment on it. But when you go to the same creator's newsletter and reply to that, you there is a higher chance of getting a
That's true.
reply from that creator, or maybe from someone from the team, or even if you want to reach out to someone in that team, there is a higher chance of them responding to it, or them seeing the uh, what do you say, seeing your response or listening to your point of view. So I
Got
would
it.
say each of it has its own advantage. I don't see that if there is a way of making it collaborative, because on Substack there is a feature where you can create a community within Substack only, where your writers can, where your followers can interact. And on Substack it is also like a social media platform where once you post, people can comment and all. So there is that thing. I think it's there on Beehive also, where people can comment. But with newsletters, it has become more of a preference thing, where they prefer to be more one-on-one than being collaborative.
Got it. Got it. And one more question I had is, now let's say you want to start a newsletter. Is it very important for you to have like a blog or a website, or just having some good content is enough?
Just having some good ideas that you want to present, not even good ideas, just having some ideas, something random
Okay.
that you want to present.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You'll figure out on the way, like if you haven't figured out initially. Like, but if you wait to figure out, uh, it will take like forever to get started.
All right. Got it. Got it, Vikra. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. I think
Anshu, Anshu, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So like I had a question regarding like so you mentioned like this is not currently like you don't have like started the business side of it. So like monetization and all. So I have a question like do you keep a like expectation like how like a specific issue will be performing then while writing, or like it is something like there is not any like expectation involved since it is like you have started and yeah.
tracking performance, right? You're asking about tracking
uh,
performance, or
Not exactly tracking performance. It is like after like after publishing, you get to track. But I'm asking regarding like is there any like pre expectation before or while writing an issue, like okay, this is like how it will be performing, this is how people will be reacting, this is how things will be going after I will make it live to the world.
okay. So in terms of numbers, the basic expectation would be like it should perform above average. Let's say if my average open rate is like say 32%, 33%, I wanted to reach at least 33, 34%. Like I don't want to go lower than that. And every time I publish, let's say it was 33.2, now it went out to let's say 33.8. For the next thing I want it to be 34 or something like that. So that's what I'd focus on. And in terms of numbers, in terms of content, I think as a writer or creator, you already know what kind of content is going to be liked by the readers, and what kind of content is just kind of okayish, and you know that it's going to do okay, but you know that it's not going to go over the roof, or it's not going to be a kind of content that is going to be loved by everyone, something like that. So that is the only expectation I have. Like in terms of numbers, it has to be a little better than the previous thing or than the average. And in terms of subscribers, I don't see it per issue. I don't see it like okay, this issue will go viral and that will bring in more subscribers, or this issue will be the one where people talk about it the most and all. For subscribers, I completely rely on the marketing thing, distributing thing, and the community thing. In terms of performance, I just want it to be about readership, the open rates. I want more readers per issue reading on an average every time I publish.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, also, Mitesh has a question. So, if you'd like to take that,
Yeah, yeah.
what is the good open rate? And for that, Urvashi.
Okay. I think 40 to 45% is good for a segmented list. But if you're just looking at a plain list which where you have not segmented anything, where you have not grouped the audience, I think somewhere between, like let's say it is above 700 subscribers, then anything between 20 to 25 is a good open rate. And this I'm talking about in terms of like completely what do you say, yeah, completely plain unsegmented ungrouped list. But if you have different group lists, it can be as high as 80 sometimes. So for example, recently I ran a campaign for one of my clients which has like 70% open rate, where I've targeted people only that are engaging with the newsletters, and have been running kind of ads for their course on emails. So if you are targeting like that, it would be even, let's say, even if it has like 50%, I would consider it not to be a good open rate. I want it to be at least 70%. But if I'm looking at something like Cognition, where I haven't segmented yet, and I see 30% right now for Cognition as a very high open rate, because there are a lot of subscribers that have stopped reading Cognition only. They are just there as a list, and they're just there in the list. And despite all these things, uh, still 30% are opening. So I would consider that a good one. So it depends on one, segmentation, and two, the niche. Uh, yeah, if it is more niche, it is likely that more people would open it. If it is more generalized, maybe not so much, because more people would be reading it. So again, the more your audience, the lesser your open rate keeps getting. And again, a lot depends on how you're filtering out the inactive emails. So on an average, 20 to 25%, like if you consider everything on an average, anything between 20 to 25 or 22 to 28 is considered good enough open rate for less above 500 subscribers at least.
Awesome. So, Mitesh, I guess that answered your question. Okay. So, yeah, let's go with the Urvashi. Okay. So, Urvashi, like she has asked, would you create newsletter template for your client brand? So,
Yes, I definitely do that because it makes it easier for me to write. Uh, so I am writing for one finance client, for which I've named the newsletter as Wealth Newsletter, which is an acronym. Like each each letter is a different section on its own. So W is a welcome story, E is educational, like finance education, and A is actionable steps, something like that. L is learning resources. Um, T is what? T is something like that. Like each segment is um, for clients, I'd like to follow more proven approach, because one, it is easier for me to write it, and also it has a proven record of working, and it makes their audience easier to consume, and all that stuff. and also like they are paying me, like they are more result oriented. With my content I'm more free to kind of experiment with it, but I can't really take that risk with clients where they're always like, even within 1 month they are looking for results and all. So just the main purpose is that it makes it easier for me and it is a proven technique, but I would definitely do follow templates for my clients.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Vikra. So how to decide good subject line? Actually, I was going to ask this question. Great, great. So like you didn't mention a lot on the subject line. Okay, like
Yeah.
how do we write good subject line? So maybe if you like to share your point of view on that too, because most of us struggle on that, right?
Yeah. So I have a very basic theory. Um, my theory is that your subject line should not sound like a brand or creator talking to an audience. It should sound more like a friend talking to a friend or a person talking to a person. By this, what I mean is, whenever you see a company's notification, you're not likely to open it, or it's not, even if you don't open it, it's not likely to catch your attention. But whenever you see a message from a friend, even though that person is not a close friend, even though it's been like 2 3 years that person has talked to you, or not someone who you regularly respond to, it still catches some sort of attention. So my basic theory is that it has to be something like a person talking to a person, a friend talking to a friend. That is why Zomato's notifications are that popular. That is why all the brands these days are trying to talk like human rather than talking like brands. Nobody wants to, I think at least these days nobody wants to read subjects like 12 ways to do it, 13 ways to do it. Sometimes it gets simpler. Even I follow the structure. It is a proven structure. It is a more copywriting technique, copywriting framework kind of subject lines where, 12 ways to do this, 10 ways to do it, secrets to do that, um, 5 hacks to do this, and all this stuff does work. But now I think people are more interested in stories, especially after all the AI thing that's been happening around. People know that, people understand frameworks, even without AI thing. People understand copywriting frameworks, their awareness about copywriting, their understanding about uh, selling, or if you're using a writing framework, it is more or less evident if you're using a framework. And and I think like now people don't want to read that. People want to read something different because they don't like to be sold, or they don't like to be uh, what do you say, experimented on with the frameworks and all. They want to read more messages, they want to read more personal side, they want to read more authentic kind of content. And that comes with subject lines where you write as if you are writing uh, for a friend, or it can be too basic and straight to the point. One thing I would say about subject lines is don't make it clickbaity, so that would kill authenticity. uh, as you can see, one of my subject lines, like my for my Pune series, it was very simple: Pune day 1, Pune day 2, Pune day 3, that's it. So it can be as simple as that, and they know that okay, they are going to read about this. So it's going to be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be like, do you know what I did in Pune that made me do this and all that stuff. I don't need to do that. It can be as simple as this one, but it shouldn't be clickbait. It shouldn't be like, okay, there is something. Uh, let's say if I've written a subject line like, do you know my breakup story, and after that if I mention that my breakup happened with my bike, I kind of miss my bike and I miss her, then people know that it is becoming clickbaity. And next time when you put uh, when you publish an issue like that, they know that it's not something that's going to be inside it. Like it's not going to be like whatever it is inside it. uh, Whatever is in the hook will not be in the inside the content, so it's not going to generate curiosity. Just be as authentic as possible. I think I got distracted with it. Yeah. So I hope that answers. Like it has to be more like person talking to a person, and it shouldn't be clickbaity. So that's the basic things. I focus more on what not to do than what can be done better or what we should do. So I know that like if I take out these things, most of other things would work. So yeah, I hope that answers. No hate.
Yeah, thank you so much. I guess we took a lot of questions here. Yeah, exactly. People like news. I mean, they are spicy and they are something that spreads like wildfire, right? Great, great. So amazing. I feel is already more than 1.5 hour. Okay, I'm really happy that happy to see that a lot of you are still here. Okay, thank you so much for sticking by. If we have any other questions, please we can take it, or you can simply ask Vikra. Okay, you can reach out to him anytime. Okay. Uh, yeah, that is it, I guess. Vikra, would you like to share anything, any conclusion if you want to have?
Nothing much. I think I've shared pretty much.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I'll share the
yeah,
link for Cognition if anyone is interested. So I would suggest please do check out. Okay. Um,
please, you'll love it. Like it's very different. It's very
Sorry.
detailed. And if you like music, if you like movies, at least for the music and movies, you can subscribe to it.
Yeah,
Thank
here's
you.
the link, guys. Check it out. Okay. And yeah, that is it. I hope we'll be inviting him again for the part two of this session. Okay, where you can monetize, where you can learn more about it. Okay.
So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being so patient, for listening for
Oh,
almost.
nice.
We have been close.
Aditi made 3 page
Sorry.
note of it. Nice.
Oh, nice, nice. So yeah, just thank you for being so patient and being listening to me, and I hope it was worth it. And yeah, just have fun. Good night.
Yeah. Good night, guys. Thank you so much.